Thank you so much for this intro, for this opportunity to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is talent. I've been in cybersecurity, as you mentioned, for over 20 years in different roles. And one of the things that has been a common thing in every role, in every place I've been to in the world, is the fact that we just don't have enough people. So we're going to dive right into that. You already gave the intro. Whoever wants to catch up with me, talk to me, feel free to do so on LinkedIn. We'll share the link afterwards. Now, because this is a masterclass, feel free to type whatever you want in the chat, comment on anything you want in the chat. It will just make this presentation so much more engaging and live and interesting in my eyes, at least. So absolutely feel free to do that. Now, as I said, the point of, let's call it talent shortage, go back. The fact that we don't have enough people has been a very big problem throughout this industry for many years. I'm sharing with you here today the statistics recently published by ISC2. In full disclosure, as Ferg mentioned, I'm an ISC2 instructor, co-author of CISP and 8SIP, chapter leader, and newly elected board member of ISC2. So I'll be starting my term on January 1st. I'm already doing bits and pieces with ISC2. So whoever is interested in things relating to ISC2, I'm your person. So this slide is one that I am particularly proud of, because ISC2 has been doing its annual study on workforce challenges in cybersecurity for quite a few years. And every year it's astounding to see how many companies and organizations throughout the world reference this research as sort of the go-to in understanding where we're at right now in cybersecurity. And where we're at is in a problematic place, because we see that we're missing right now almost 5.5 million professionals. That is huge. Of course, not all of them are GRC. There are a lot of places where we're missing people, and some of them we're missing in more, let's call it more advanced skills, people that are more experienced, and that's absolutely fine. But we're still missing a lot of people, and we need more. And for me, when I see something like that, this presents both a challenge and an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to utilize new technology, and we mentioned AI already. And yes, when I'm thinking about GRC, and I have to tell you that this morning, I had a presentation, sort of intro to GRC for leaders. And we talked about various things, from what it is to do GRC to how you actually do it. And I think that today we're very fortunate to have so many tools at our disposal. But I can have as many tools as I want that will generate, for example, policies and procedures and everything. But that's not the point. Having all the policies and procedures in the world is not going to help us if we don't implement them, if we don't tailor them to our needs. So it's not just about the technology. Getting the right tools, getting the right policies is great, but we need people to actually implement them. And what I see that is missing terribly, terribly from the GRC world is people not just starting out, but people that are more advanced, that actually understand the profession, that actually understand the problem in cybersecurity, that understand what it means to be a risk manager, not just in cybersecurity, but in cybersecurity specifically. When I talk to CISOs all over the world and I ask them, what does your company do? And maybe they'll know the headline, like, my company is a product developer, we have a product on whatever. Or actually also, one of my customers a while ago, he's working for a biotech company, and I asked him what's their product. Told me something to do with, I think, diabetes. And that was sad, because if you don't understand the business, you don't understand the problems that are relevant for this business. If you don't understand the business, you will never be part of that conversation. You will never be a true CISO, a true C-level executive that is part of the conversation, that is part of the leadership. And I see that as a huge challenge, especially when we're talking about the gap, when we're talking about GRC, because specifically when we're talking about management, we're talking about those leadership roles. We're talking about people that can combine those two worlds, that can combine business orientation and technical orientation, that understand the technical field, but can talk in, let's call it, layman's term or even business terms, if I'm being very specific, because I think that's a huge challenge. And when I look at this statistic and I'm saying, okay, 5.5 million people, who do I need? I need a new mindset. I need to utilize people from different backgrounds. And for that, I always try to address sort of the elephant in the room. And I'm calling it the elephant in the room for a very good reason. First of all, I'm a woman, so that's one elephant that I'm going to tackle. And there are many elephants that I'm going to tackle because usually cybersecurity people are always middle-aged white dudes. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, it is what it is, our adversaries are not only middle-aged white dudes. They come in all shapes and forms and genders and whatever. And that is a huge problem. Now, specifically when we're talking about GRC, the problem is, in my eyes, even greater, because it's not just about who our adversaries are. It's about who our employees are. And when we're talking about, for example, a global organization, and I was fortunate enough to work throughout my career in multiple global organizations. One of them was about 40 something different nationalities we had in the same organization. And it was absolutely incredible. Oh, I see that we have a survey, so check out the survey as well. What? Oh, it's not a survey. It's it's a question for me, Ferg. Yeah.
Oh, it's a poll for the audience.
Oh, it's a poll for the audience. Okay, so they could have checked it out. Okay, it will be interesting to see what it's like for 2024. Last year it was 3.5 million, so we almost doubled. So that will be interesting for 2024 to see projection. So when we're looking at global organizations, and I was fortunate enough to work in a few, when you have people in different places around the world speaking different languages, under different cultures, we have to understand that. And we need people in the GRC team, in the cybersecurity team, not only to relate to different people, to think about the different adversaries, to think about our people and what will work with them. The way that you would speak and you will work with people in the US is different to the one that I will use in the Middle East. It's very different to the one I will use in Africa or in Asia or anywhere else. And when you work with multicultural teams, you have to think about that. For example, I can tell you that today I actually made a little boo-boo. I was going to have a big meeting with a few of my colleagues, and I was like last week, and I said, yeah, it's going to be on Thursday evening after this session. And then we're like, it's Thanksgiving. I should have thought about that. Usually I do. By the way, I have a calendar with all the different, well, I'm not, definitely not all, but the major holidays in different places around the world, including Diwali and Thanksgiving and Jewish holidays and Muslim holidays. And do try to include the majority of them because it is important. And when I try to build awareness, for example, I have to utilize that. I have to look at the calendar because hackers look at the calendars too. We know it's now, we're almost at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the nice holiday season. And hackers know that. Hackers utilize that. And they do it all the time. They will send you specific offers for new products, also promotions. And after Black Friday, you will see special delivery notices from your Amazon delivery is late. You have to submit your details. No, it's not late. They're here usually twice a day. They know where I live. It's fine. But the thing is, that when we look at it from a global perspective, when we have a global team, when we have different people on our GRC, on our cybersecurity team, it helps us understand the problem and it helps us understand the solution. And that's why I call it the elephant in the room, because we always say we don't have enough talent, but we're always looking at the same people. And for example, when we're talking about GRC, trying to get someone who was a penetration tester to move ranks and switch to GRC, unless they're really inclined to do it, they're not going to. They like what they do. They like the technical side. On the other hand, if we go to accountants and try to push them to cybersecurity, we'll have to make a sale as well. So we have to look across different areas in the organization and outside the organization, try to get the conversation going. And I think that will be also the solution, not just for GRC, for the shortage in general. Look beyond the natural talent pool, because there are a lot of people that are looking for interesting opportunities. People now understand that technology is here to stay. They understand that technology is part of the conversation. It's part of our lives, whether we want to or not. And I think that as security professionals, we have the responsibility to share our experience with others. We have the responsibility of talking about cybersecurity. And there's a quote that I absolutely love: "You can't be what you can't see." And usually when people reference that, a lot of women use this sentence and this quote when talking about women in tech or women in cybersecurity. And that's absolutely true, but it's not just that. It's people, minorities of all sorts, people that come from different backgrounds, people that come. I actually had a conversation with an educator, with a professor of education this week, and she deals with cybersecurity, and she doesn't teach cybersecurity from a technical point of view. She teaches it from the educational point of view. So we need to look beyond our natural pool and try to get people involved. That's why I have the Think Safe Cyber community. Unfortunately, it's not global yet, but hopefully it will be. That's why I published the book, because those conversations actually help. When people listen to those conversations, when we talk, people sometimes listen, not all of them. And sometimes we tend to go to the technical side too much. So I always ask my audience to tell me if I geek out too much. So if I geek out too much, please tell me. But do try and talk to people around you and see, maybe something will spark an interest. Maybe one of your coworkers that is in a totally different division will be interested. And I always found it easier, and I've been teaching for a very long time, I always found it easier to take someone with a business understanding and teach them cybersecurity than take someone who's very techie and very into cybersecurity and teach them the business mindset. I used to teach CISO courses, and the first question I always asked in class was, who here has an MBA? And there was always someone clever who asked me, didn't you mean a degree in computer science? No, I don't really care if you have a degree in computer science. I mean, good for you. That's a great degree to have. But I meant business, because that perspective is sometimes harder to understand. And for us, and also it's a matter of a little bit of ego, because when we're in cybersecurity, we tend to think that that's the most important thing in a business. And when I look at risk management, and I've been doing it for a while, I tend to see a specific cybersecurity risk and say, oh no, the sky is falling, we have to tackle this now. But it could be that when I look at the entire organization and I look at all the risks, not just the security risks, and I look at the business resiliency, not just the cyber resiliency, it could be that I'll change my mind, and it could be that it's not the most important thing for us to tackle right now. And that's something that is very humbling for us as security professionals, and that's why we have to look outside ourselves. If we'll have people working with us that come from different perspectives, that have different mindsets, we will probably be in a better place to understand the problem and probably understand the solution as well. Now, when we're talking about, go back, respect my authority. And respect I put a video. Okay, it doesn't want to work with a video. I'm sorry. I really tried. It was supposed to grow and everything. I don't know why it doesn't want to work. Why don't you want to work? Why don't you want to work? Please, please. It worked before. I swear. I swear it did. No, it doesn't. Oh, it does want to work. See, being a perfectionist has its problems. I think that the first problem that we always have is identifying the talent. But the next problem that we have, and that's also a huge problem, is retention and development of our people, of our employees, of our entire culture. And I think our role as leaders in cybersecurity is to really build that talent to help people see themselves grow in cybersecurity, give them some sort of understanding where they can go to next, what's next for them, what they should do to continuously learn and develop, both from a professional point of view and from a personal point of view as well, because we want people to grow as individuals. We want them to have better understanding. We want them to have clear views on the business. And if we really look into that and we try and grow them and help them and nourish them, we will probably be able to retain them for longer. Now, it's always a question. People always ask me that because I've been an instructor for so long. And I love, what will we do if we invest in our people and they leave? And that always brings to mind a very famous quote. I think it was Churchill, but I might be mistaken, that said, what if we train our people and they leave us? And the response is, what if we don't and they stay? I want to believe that an organization that will invest in its people and will give them chances to grow and develop as individuals and professionals, and will send them to different trainings, and will give them tools and time to develop their skills, the organization will benefit. Having the time, for example, and I've been working in different organizations, but having the time to work on my personal and professional development has been crucial for me throughout the years, because I think everyone listening will probably agree that one of the challenges in cybersecurity is always staying up to date. This field changes so rapidly. Now, you can get the data from different places. You can read blogs, you can read articles, you can listen to podcasts, you can go to trainings. It doesn't matter how you get the data, as long as you do. You can utilize, I actually used ChatGPT and created a prompt for me that will give me ideas of how to get additional training and additional things. And it's fantastic. So I try to use a lot of content to get a lot of content. And for me, a company that gave me the time to learn and develop was rewarded by the fact that I didn't want to leave. It was so important to me to have that time. And I know that some companies are wonderful at that, and they actually allocate and they actually sort of almost make their employees take up the time and learn. And I can mention one employer that I had in the past, that we had an enterprise account to one of the online learning platforms, and they told us, we don't care how you use it. We don't care whether you learn cybersecurity, financial investments, or French history. We don't care. Do whatever you want, just use it, and you have to use it a minimum of 40 hours a year. And that's incredible. 40 hours is a full week. And that's incredible because we have the chance. And for me, I can tell you that I used it probably more like 140 hours a year, because I found it incredible. I found a course that I really liked on comedy, because that's something I'm very passionate about. I found a course that I really liked about risk management. So sometimes it's professional, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's combined. And I think it's fantastic. So that's a great way to retain our talent, to just give them chances to grow, to lead their own projects, to have their own ideas. My first encounter with security awareness from a professional point of view was when I was working as part of the security team, and we didn't have a good enough awareness program. That was something like 10 years ago, something like that. and we didn't have a structured awareness program. And we used to work with consultants that helped us every year to do the awareness training and everything. And I was really into that because I knew that was a huge risk. So my manager just said, you know what? That's your baby. Do whatever you want with it. This is your budget. Do whatever you want. And I started building and building and building. And from there, I actually built a company at some point after I left that company. And after I left, actually, the one after that, that led to the creation of Helena. That was my company. And now I work for Cyber Labs that we do the same, that they basically took me because of Helena, with the content of Helena. And basically what we do is develop awareness programs, like encompassing awareness programs. And that was only possible for me because my manager said, you know what, you're passionate about that, research it and grow it and do whatever you want with it, because we didn't have anyone else. And I stayed there for much longer than I probably would have without that, only because I had that baby that I was so proud of and gave me chances to grow. So that was amazing. So I really think that we have to nurture our employees. And I would really like to hear from you guys, if you feel like it, what you do, what sort of strategies you use, whether it is to attract talent to work with us in cybersecurity, in GRC, or to retain them. I mean, I shared some of my ideas, but I would love to hear from you guys if you have any ideas. If you don't, that's also fine, because I can always share more. And I think that is probably the biggest insight. For me, one of the most important things in cybersecurity as a person and as a professional is building those network opportunities. It's building that community, sharing experience, sharing knowledge, getting more ideas from other people, because obviously other people come with different perspective. And I said before that we need diversity. We need to hear from other people. We need to have other opinions, because if someone comes from a different organization, I see that as an opportunity. I know that for many people, I just had that conversation a few days ago with someone who his entire career was focused on a certain industry, and he's tired. He really wants to not switch careers. He wants to stay in cybersecurity, but he really wants to experience something else. Tell me, but who will have me? All I know is, in his case, is banking. I would love to have you in my company, because your insights as someone who grew in the banking industry is amazing. I don't know that. I don't come from that world. I would love to have someone like that in my team, or someone from biotech, or someone from whatever. It doesn't really matter, because if we have different perspectives, I hear about different things. Maybe someone who's been in banking encountered something that I haven't. Maybe someone who's been in insurance encountered something I haven't, or someone who's been in biotech or any other field. So not only I don't see it as a problem, I see it as a huge opportunity. I really do. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people to share their experience, to bring in their things that they've encountered. And I think that growing a network is crucial. I've had a very strong professional network for years. They are sort of my go-to people whenever I have well, basically almost anything that I'm thinking about. What shall I do with this project, or how shall I tackle this risk, or whatever? I usually share it with my community, with my network, and ask them, have you ever encountered this? How did you tackle that? Or if I'm exploring a new product, the first thing I will probably do, or the second thing after reading a little bit about it, I will go and talk to my peers, and I will ask them, have you ever used that? What's your experience? How's the service? How are the people in the company, etc.? And that is so vital. And I think that on a global scale, even more so. Because when we're in a certain place in the world, we tend to see only what we're used to. And I can tell you that when I moved to the UAE, about a week or two after I moved, I was with my daughter, and she suddenly had a phone call. And on the line was someone from Dubai police telling her that they found her Emirates ID, her ID card, and they have to send it back to her, and they just need a few details. Now, my daughter is, at the time she was 13, she gave me the phone. I took the person and I'm like, nice try, dude. She didn't even have an Emirates ID yet. It takes a few weeks until you get your Emirates ID. And the first thing I did was I basically started Googling it and is this a known scam? And yes, it's a very well-known scam in the UAE. And about 2 months later, one of my coworkers told me that her son, about 17, gave the details, gave the credit card details because they said they're going to send it to him. And they were scammed out of 10,000 dirhams, which is about almost $3,000. Not a nice experience. She told me, but he is such a smart guy. How could he fall victim to something so stupid? So I asked her, have you ever talked to your son? Have you ever talked to your family about cybersecurity? Yes, you know, because you're here, because you've had so many awareness training throughout the years. Of course you know. But your family doesn't. And our friends don't. And I think it's our responsibility as security professionals. And that also helps us get more talent, get people involved, get them to join us and share and think about this as a valid career choice. So I think, and that, by the way, this Dubai police thing is unique to the UAE. I haven't encountered it in the US, in the UK, in Israel. I've never encountered this specific scenario. So yeah, it's very different. And now sometimes I see scams that I know from other parts of the world, suddenly I see them here and vice versa. So when you communicate and when you share, especially when you have a global team, you can learn from the team and be prepared for something that already happened in the US. Maybe tomorrow morning it will happen in Australia. So if we share and have that common discussion, it will be absolutely fantastic. Now, of course, you can't finish a presentation without a summary slide, because otherwise I would just finish it with Q&A, and that's boring. So I think that for me, the key takeaways when I talk about GRC, when I talk about building a more profound future in cybersecurity, is sharing. Sharing is caring. Sharing our experience, sharing our insights, talking to others, talking to people that are not necessarily in cybersecurity because they might want to be in cybersecurity. We need 5.5 million people. I want to reference that number again. 5.5 million people. We need people to join the workforce. And the only way to do that is to get them involved, to make them think that this is a valid career choice for them, even if they're lawyers and they haven't done anything to do with, they have nothing to do with cybersecurity. Yes, they do. They understand privacy and they understand legal and they understand compliance. Or even if they're marketing, great. They can be super important for my security awareness program, etc., etc. We can have so many different viewpoints, and that will help us to be better security people. It will help us understand the other side. It will help us understand our management and what they're struggling with. So I think that at the end of the day, it's sharing, it's having people join us in this world, in this field, and grow a better and safer cyber world. Thank you very much. I have to say, in full disclosure, I am an evil person, but I swear that these QRs do lead to my TEDx talk and my LinkedIn page. You'll just have to trust me.
Yes, we've also added the links in the chat as well.
Oh,
So
right.
this is brilliant. I mean, exactly, fostering a mindset of, awareness and adaptability in such teams, especially in GRC. Definitely, we should look at bridging the role gap there. So
Yeah.
we have a couple of questions that have come in. Just wanted to pull that in so we can answer them live.
Absolutely.
So the first one has come from a LinkedIn audience, which says, are there KPIs or metrics that organizations should focus on to gauge the impact of their cybersecurity knowledge programs?
Ooh, of course, absolutely. So sort of the most obvious one is when it comes to phishing simulations, and how many people clicked the link and how many people completed the awareness program. I don't like that as the only KPI, because I do want to try, when I run phishing campaigns, I do try to run different sort of campaigns and sometimes escalate and do, if someone has already done well in 2, 3, 4 phishing simulations, I will probably give them something a little bit harder to detect. So that could sort of play around with the numbers. So it is something that we have to take into consideration, but that's probably the easiest one. Another one that is great is engagement. So getting people engaged and seeing what works for them. One of the things that I found very beneficial when it comes to, well, it's awareness. It's not just awareness, but getting people involved in cybersecurity is talking to them about their personal lives and setting sort of ask us anything sessions with the cybersecurity team. First of all, it helps build that rapport, that conversation with the cybersecurity team. I know that a lot of people need that, and they don't know the security team well enough. So that's definitely a great way to. Oh, sorry for that. That's what happens when there are too many open windows. So when you do the Ask Us Anything, you can measure how many people actually approach the cybersecurity team, what's their response is. You can do the obvious, like run a computer-based training and see how many people, first of all, how many people have taken it, completed it, and what was the average, the average experience, the average mark, if we want to give them some sort of mark in the end. So we can definitely do that as well. So those are the things that are sort of the obvious ones.
Awesome. So thank you so much, May. It's been a brilliant session along with you.